May I request Dr. Parvez Hassan? I've been trying to invite him to our conferences for last at least 7-8 years, and thanks to Babar Ali Saab, finally we got hold of him. He's such a busy person to come to any of the event. Professor.
Thank you, Abid. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. You know, he's Babar to a few, he's SBA to many, he's Uncle Babar to some, but he's Shah Sahab to me. So Shah Sahab, great pleasure to be here. You know, it's really a privilege to participate in something as exciting, as momentous, and as inspirational as acknowledging for a lifetime's achievement the contribution of Shah Sahab in what we have gathered here to do. I am hugely pleased to be a part of this celebration, but I did want to say, and this is for Abid, that I don't see Mrs. Parveen Babar Ali here. I see Heather, I don't see Henna, but these are the people that really anchored the success and the glamour and the magic that is Syed Babar Ali. I really wanted to, for all of us to convey, from all of us to convey to Mrs. Parveen Babar Ali, to Henna, Heather is already here, our gratitude to have so well supported a man who has provided a compass, who has provided a sense of direction, and who has provided so much inspiration to all of us in Pakistan. You know, when I stand here and I want to say something nice, I know Syed Babar Ali, I've been on many fora like this, he gets very uncomfortable when people say nice things about him. But Shah Sahab, relax today, because we have to be very truthful today. I really wanted to sum up his life, and I was reminded of that eloquence of Adlai Stevenson. And he spoke about Eleanor Roosevelt, and I think he summed up Syed Babar Ali's life, that the quality of his life is such that he never curses darkness, he always lights candles. And Syed Babar Ali, we thank you for the many, many candles you've lit in Pakistan. You know, when you come to sort of summing up his life, 2 or 3 things come to my mind. First, transformation. 2, empowerment. 3, inspiration. Outside the government, I've never met, I've never known of an individual who has empowered so many, who has inspired so many as Syed Babar Ali. He really has been a huge motivator, a huge role model in my life. Just a few weeks ago, not actually a few weeks, just a few nights ago, I was at a dinner in Lahore, the class of '89 at LUMS, 30 years, and there were 37 graduates that year, and 22 of them were in Lahore that night, having traveled from all over Pakistan, the Gulf, Saudi Arabia. And many of them spoke. And the words that came out in every remark was how Syed Babar Ali had transformed the lives of each of those individuals. They told the stories about how humble their origins, their commitments in life were, and how successful they had now turned out to be. Each of them talked about him as a role model. Each of them talked about the inspiration that he has been in his life. And it was such a pleasant sight seeing this grand man sit there like a good godfather with everybody queuing up to pay respects respectfully to the grandeur, to the magnificence that this man represents. I was fortunate almost 50 years ago when I was a young 27, and I think the hero in my life was Tanzania. Something was happening in Tanzania that packages was getting involved in, and they looked around for lawyers. I had just started my law practice in Lahore, and the project was Kibo, Tanzania, and Babar Ali Saab found out that there's a lawyer who knows a little about foreign investments. And sure enough, I was very fortunate to meet with him, Mr. Syed Hussain, and Tariq Hamid to start my work for packages. And it's been a long and happy journey since. 50 years of lawyering, 50 years of advising, 50 years of an evolving friendship. And he writes in his books that he learns from others. And I have to tell from each incident that I have been associated with him as to what I learned from him. I was his lawyer and have been his lawyer for 50 years in packages, National Fertilizer Corporation. Almost anything that he has done publicly, I've been a part of. And what I have learned as his lawyer, as his confidant, is that it takes time to find somebody that he wants to do something for him. But once he decides who that person will be or is, he supports him fully. There are times when he asks me to do things that are very complex, that require decision-making. But the quality of my association is such that when he turns to a lawyer, he takes the advice of the lawyer. When he turns to an accountant, he takes the advice of an accountant. I suppose when he turns to a doctor, he takes the advice of a doctor also. So what I have learned is that it takes time to pick people up. But once he has picked them up, he supports them and backs them fully. There's this story I have. He traveled to, I think it was New York. We traveled for one of the banks that he opened in Pakistan. And we flew out. We stayed at the Harvard Club in New York, and in the morning that we had these complex negotiations, we took a taxi and went out to the American Express office in downtown New York. And the awe that this gentleman excites is you sit on a global international table, the chairman of American Express, all the big wigs in American Express, and I heard the chairman of American Express turn to his secretary and say, "How did Mr. Babar Ali come here?" And he was told that Mr. Babar Ali took a taxi and came in the taxi to that meeting. So the chairman turned to the secretary, put a limousine at his disposal for all the time he is in New York. Now, I mention this because this is how you get respected. You know, I've never seen this kind of respect extended to the many, many clients I've traveled with to America. Many, many. But there's a certain awe, a certain mystique, a certain respect that this gentleman inspires and commands. And you're really a proud thing to be on the table representing him and his vision. You know, I could talk forever. I'll just talk briefly the 5 associations I've had with him in what we call public interest causes. The first, again, when I was a young lawyer, he turned to me to join him. He was the president of the World Wildlife Fund, Pakistan, and he asked me to be a member of the board, and he really rooted my interest in the environment. We went on to work in the International Union of Conservation of Nature, as Howard was mentioning. He was the vice president. I became the chair of the Commission on Environmental Law. And we worked on the environment, conservation. I traveled with him to all the national parks here, whether it was Kirthar, to see wild ibex at 4 to 5 in the morning emerging from the mountains. I was with him in the Lal Swara National Park watching the black buck in the Lal Swara National Park. I was with him, with the board, watching the Chinkara in the Kalabagh Reserve in Punjab. But anything he did it with a quality that really propelled him to more and more success. I got to work with him when he was the president of the World Wildlife Fund Pakistan. It took him to becoming a regional councillor for IUCN, to becoming a vice president of IUCN, and then to peak, and this is no mean peaking, to be the president of the World Wildlife Fund Global International, not Pakistan, succeeding the Duke of Edinburgh. So that's the quality of the leadership of the man that we seek to honor today. I next worked with him in LUMS. वो दो बैठे हुए हैं यहाँ, तारीख इसलिए मैंने नोट लाया. The date is the 29th of December 1983, and I get a call from Razak. And the call is, he calls him Babar. Babar is with me. We want to consult with you on some matters. So that is the beginning of the 37 years association on LUMS. We sat down and conceptualized what LUMS would be, what kind of organizational governance structure it will have. And the vision at that time was only for a business school, but it grew from a business school to a school of humanities, to a school of engineering, to a school of law, to a school of education, and now hopefully to a school of economics. So he starts with a business school and he ends up with 6 schools. But the most remarkable thing that I need to tell you about LUMS is what he brings to these campuses. 4 or 5 things. And we took that to the Shaukat Khanum hospital also. 4 or 5 things. And that, I would say, is the legacy of the man we honor today. 1, everything should be done on merit. कोई सिफारिश नहीं, सवाल नहीं पैदा होता. When you say something like that today, it resonates because there may be a few institutions in Pakistan that have owned this work ethic. But 40, 50 years ago, I think we were the first ones to have brought in that work ethic. कोई सिफारिश नहीं, merit पे सब काम होगा. And there's no exception. There's no door that opens other than on merit. Number 2, if it's an educational institution, it's based on need. अगर कोई बच्चा या बच्ची काबिल है इस चीज़ के कि उस इदारे की तालीम ले सकता है, तो हम आंखें बंद करके उसको ज़राए पेश करते हैं ताकि वो उसमें शामिल हो. So it's need-based, merit-driven, and these are some of the things that he has brought. No VIP culture. We've never had an event in any of these places जहाँ वो seats लगी हों reserved for VIPs. These things may look commonplace today, but when we started these many, many years ago, they were unique. And I'm proud that with his leadership, we got there. I don't really want to rush. The next association is वो कप्तान का अस्पताल. And the time is 1988. The Kaptan comes to my house and he says he wants to build a cancer hospital. You have funds? The answer is no. Do you have land? The answer is no. Do you have any medical advisors? The answer is no. Do you have a hospital design? The answer is no. I said, then what have you come here for? He said, I've come here with a determination. And I said, why me? He said, you helped out Babar Ali and Razak Daud put together LUMS successfully. They say you got the Midas touch. What you touch turns into gold. So can you help me? So I said, I can help you if you let me put the whole team together for you. And he said, that's the first thing I was told that you would say if I came to you. So put together the team. And that's how Razak Daud, Babar Ali, we got into the foundational work, and we led Shaukat Khanum for 10 years. वो जो बातें मैंने की थी, वीआईपी कल्चर नहीं होगा, नीड बेस्ड होगा, मेरिट होगा, ये सब चीज़ें अब उस इदारे में भी चली गई. Legacy of the man we honor today. I'll rush. We next get into SDPI. Tariq Banuri talked about it. यहाँ आबिद भी बैठे हैं. Again, see what's happening is, in addition to my work, my corporate work, which is my breadline, I handle all non-profit work on a pro bono basis. लोगों को पता चल गया ये मुफ्त करता है, तो जो मुफ्त काम होता है मुझे फ़ोन आता है. मुझे टेलीफोन आया कि SDPI बनानी है. तारिक बनोरी was conducting the vision, और मैं मुंशी होता हूँ. I always put down the governance structures and do these things. So Babar Ali साहब भी उसमें थे, उसमें so some of us got together, we put together the foundational thing, and what happens is when you come in, you lead it for about 8, 5, 10 years, and again the same culture coming in, and each organization that we went to with Babar Saab's leadership, we took the same work ethic. और अब आखिर में बात करना चाहता हूँ, Babar Ali Saab has this infinite ability, I'm sorry I use a word, to pick pockets. Fundraising, it's called fundraising. And there are 3 persons that I've been very privileged to closely work with in what they call fundraising and I call pickpocketing. एक ईदी साहब थे, remarkable man. उनको मैंने माल रोड की सड़क पे देखा with a bowl begging for money, and he was very successful when the money he raised. Then there was a Kaptan, also very successful. He would go into a city, at Gujranwala, any place like this, and when he entered the city, it was like Jesus entering Nazareth. People queuing up, पैसा फेंक रहे हैं, 5 रुपए, 10 रुपए, 25 रुपए, 100 रुपए. But the third fundraiser that I've known, successful, Syed Babar Ali. He's such a successful fundraiser that whenever he walks out of my office, I check up my wallet. Magar, the lesson here is, how do you become a good pickpocket? Trust. People have to have trust in you. And trust is not a 1 moment, 1 minute thing. You've got to breed that trust. आपको कोई पैसा देता है, आपको कोई चीज़ उससे करनी होती है, और अगर आप उससे वो कर लें तो फिर आप और के लिए जाते हैं. So you never retire on trust. It keeps going. And for all the years that I've known Babar Ali Saab, he has been one of the most remarkable fundraisers I have known. ईदी साहब सड़क पे खड़े होते थे, इमरान खान शहरों में जाता था और स्कूल के बच्चों से लेता था. Babar Ali Saab picks up the telephone. He picks up the phone or he makes a visit, and he makes the other person a lot poorer financially, but rich spiritually. Babar Ali Sahab, I thank you for all these things you've done for me in my life. And I only wanted to say in the end that over 80 friends from all over the world joined to tribute SBA in his book on celebrating SBA's 90 years. The best tribute, I thought, came from one of his family members who highlighted that SBA's life shows that the giver, by giving, enriches himself, and the enabler, by enabling, liberates himself. Shah Sahab, SBA, Babar, uncle to others, has happily, well enriched and well liberated himself. I salute Shah Sahab and his role model life. I thank him for his friendship and for immeasurably enriching mine. I thank you.